it's fantastic to see like things are actually falling into place in terms of having people like exposed. Because
all right, guys, we are gonna do a $10,000 Vault Funder giveaway.
it's like,
A
wow.
Christian club. No,
Christian
are
club.
you for
You're
real?
gonna praise the name of Jesus in the club. I said,
We anoint the drinks.
yeah, literally, I never tell people that I'm a forex trader. I don't think I've ever said to anyone, listen, I'm a forex trader.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't trade forex. All right, YouTube, we are back with another one with a local boy here from Port Elizabeth, and we thought we're not going to travel all the way. We're going to get some of the local legends in here. This is going to be a spicy one, and today, on today's podcast, we're going to chat with Keegan Willis. So, Chad, we just want to welcome Keegan to the studio. Welcome, my brother. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me on the pod. It's always been an honor for me to think about being on the pod, like to actually be here is fantastic. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier, saying how, again, Keegan was also one of the few guys from the very start, was part of the chat, part of the community, was there, is a trader yourself, as you say, local boy. Funny enough, we were in school together. But again, I think we're going to dive quite a bit, your whole full circle, yeah. But before we get into that, I think, Keegan, why don't you just tell the guys a little bit about you, a little bit about your life?
Fantastic. So yeah, I'm 24 years old. Obviously, my name is Keegan Willis. I am a content creator full-time and now aspiring to be a full-time trader as well. And yeah, I mean, for me, I have always been, a lover of, for instance, like sports and everything. I never thought that trading would ever be something that I'd ever get involved in. But, when I first got involved in trading, I think it was in about 2021. I think that was when I first got involved in trading. Me, myself and Keegs were also, very kind of new to the whole trading space. I don't know, Keegs, you got involved in I'm not too sure.
End of 2018, 2019?
End of 2018, okay, so you've been in for a while. I saw Keegs was into it, but we never really chatted and everything. But my journey in basically trading started around 2021. I mean, it was fantastic to, kind of get involved with the space, but I had no idea what I was doing. And that's when my trading journey started. But a little bit more about my life. So for me, I went to Pearson High School. That's where I went to high school. And, it was fantastic to kind of like be involved in a school that's, really cared about you. And I never was into sports as much as the next person, but I loved playing all sports. I mean, I played basically every sport known to man at that specific school. And it was just fantastic, to just meet a lot of people along the way. Fast forward a bit, my trading journey, continued from 2021, 2022. I then moved to the United States of America. That move was quite interesting for me as well. I mean, I'd never thought that I would ever see the United States of America in my life, and thankfully I got the opportunity to do so. And that's the case. I think that's when my life kind of took a 360, because for one, my content had to change drastically. I mean, I was a South African content creator, and for me to then change the content scene was, it was the step in the right direction, but also a big fear factor for me. But, nonetheless, I still made the jump. And I mean, ever since then, it's been a roller coaster. I must be honest. I think that's when I also got introduced to, for instance, Chris and Keith, 2G trading. Got involved with getting basically seeing the content that you guys have been putting out. And I was a bartender for 2 years in the States, and it was fantastic. It was a big change in my life, content wise, as well as I said, big change in my life. But what I can definitely say is it definitely grew me as a person. And I mean, the States was definitely a good move in the right direction. But for me personally, it really had a big impact on my trading. And I told you guys, excuse me, I believe that being in the States means you have to be willing to, put in the hard graft, especially with trading. Because, I mean, as I told Keegs and Chris before the podcast started, I literally had to get up, in early hours in the morning, start London session at like an ungodly hour, and, continue New York session back at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's kind of an insight about, to how my life has kind of been the past few years. For me, it's always been, keep God first. I'm a believer in Christ, and I believe that, without him, I can basically do nothing. And, keeping him first has always been something that I've always done in my life. My family's always, preached that on me. And, for me personally, I've myself also grown in the faith myself. So it's always been, something that I've fallen back on. But that's just a quick insight about my life, currently where I am right now and where I've been. And, fast forward a couple of years later, I moved back to South Africa. And I mean, it's been fantastic, to reconnect with the boys again. Me, Keegs and Chris have always spoken about, being on the podcast, being at Vault. And, I've always had good things to say about Vault. I tell the guys all the time, I'm basically sitting on the podcast. I mean, I'm busy sitting on the live stream, 24/7 while I'm busy trading, just to give myself some sort of, company while I'm busy trading by myself. And it's always good to hear the banter with the boys. That's basically where my life is at the moment. And this is where I am right now.
No, that's awesome, bro. I think I've got two straight off the bat, two back-to-back questions I actually want to get into. So obviously you mentioned how obviously you're in a school, it's a good school, all these things, academically, sporty and all of that. You didn't go study after school?
So funny enough, I did. I actually went to go study psychology. So
okay.
It was quite interesting for me. I mean, it wasn't something that I was really looking to do. Obviously your parents say that you have to go study a degree.
Yeah.
For me, it was something that I kind of had to do. So it's like kind of taking maths core. You have to do it because it's seen as the ultimate subject that you have to take. Science as well. I had to take science because my parents didn't know any better in terms of what I wanted to do. It's currently, at that point, it was just like, okay, do what society said you have to do. So in that sense, I went to study psychology. Definitely was something that I don't regret. I mean, psychology is definitely an interesting degree, but in my mind, I was wasting my time in a sense. So, But yeah, psychology, I did manage to, scoop up a little bit of, time there at university, but I dropped out. I think it's actually quite funny. I dropped out 3 months before the end. So,
oh my word.
So big fights with my parents. I said to them, look, trading is the way to go for me. I mean, they didn't want to hear it. I said and obviously now they understand the big deal with trading. But back then it was like absolute taboo to say to them, look, I don't want to be in university. So that's kind of where I was. And you can just imagine the turmoil in the house at that specific point in my life. So that's where I was. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, so that obviously goes to the next question now. And I was going to say, so from me, and I'm sure any one of our South Africans that are watching, where you really started popping off was social media.
That's correct.
I think we all saw the applying for this, applying for that. I think we all loved those videos.
Thanks, man.
But when that started, was the idea, because you were in that before going over to trading?
Yes.
Was the idea to become a professional content creator?
Hey traders, hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. I just want to come and let you guys know that Vault Funder has got a 35% discount on all challenges. Go use code DTA. Don't trade alone. Take on that challenge. We've got some of the highest win rates in the industry, highest pass rate, some of the biggest payouts. You want to trade with a prop firm that's going to pay you out, that's giving you the flexibility of holding trades over the weekend, trading news events. Go check it out, vaultfunder.trade. Enjoy the pod.
That's interesting because for me, I got involved in the content scene a lot earlier before 2020. I think 2020 was definitely a year of content creation for me from the start. But in 2018, I dabbled a little bit in videos. Everyone was scared to make videos in 2018. Yeah. I mean, that was a year when no one really decided to make content. I mean, I don't know if anyone else was, feels the same, but that was kind of like, it wasn't seen as popular. 2020 came along. Obviously, we were all bored. I decided, look, a couple of the guys in SA, good friends of mine right now, they're doing content. I was like, well, surely I can do the same thing. I mean, I've got a personality. I've got a, class clown type personality. So I thought to myself, might as well give it a shot. I didn't think that I'll take it very, very far in terms of professionally. I did understand, excuse me, I did understand that there's going to be there'll be opportunities for me to take it far in the future. But the goal for my social media was basically just to inspire guys. There's always that saying like a lot of guys really are struggling to, find some sort of role model in life. And for me, I just wanted to be able to make people laugh, especially in lockdown. I mean, we had a very tough time in lockdown. There were a lot of, hardships, but there were also a lot of opportunities. So I grabbed that opportunity in the content scene, which was fantastic for me. But in general, for me, it's just basically just to make people feel alive again. Yeah. So I continued that and just kind of, saw where that took me, and it took me to a certain place, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Coming back to the content, and we had a chat about it as well, about building a personal brand. And the thing is now, obviously, you said you started off with the idea of just inspiring, making people laugh.
Correct.
But now, what is that next step? Have you sat down to say, listen, I want to start pillaring this into a potential brand that can do business, a brand that you can basically associate yourself with. What is the idea for you now going forward, that say 2, 3, 4, 5 year plan with the content, and how to potentially pivot into something where your social media becomes your business?
That's actually a good question. So for me, actually, now that you brought it up, so I've kind of been under the radar with that whole thing. For me, I've kind of wanted to integrate the trading into my social media and into my content creation. It took a bit of time though, because for me to make a personal brand was very difficult. I didn't understand exactly what I wanted to do with a personal brand. It was all about comedy at first, but I thought to myself, I don't want to be a comedian. Like, it's not what I want to do. It's not something that I personally want to pursue. So for me, I decided, let me wait on it a bit. And I might have wasted a bit of time, but also I think that it was a blessing in disguise, because when I found trading, I thought to myself, if I'm being taught about trading, surely I can also teach trading too. But I didn't want to hop into that like in any means necessary, especially at that point in my life. So fast forward a few years to where we are now, I decided, I have, a good amount of knowledge on what I'm doing. And, I recently just got profitable. So I thought to myself, why not showcase that to other people? And, it is quite scary because, you don't want to get into something and kind of have people lose money. I mean, that's ultimately the scare. But, to take a risk means, to obviously just, go all out, because you never know what can happen. So for me, I have recently just finished up there. It's like 90% done. But in the near future, most likely this weekend or next week, I'll be releasing my own brand coming out. So by the name of KZAR Funded. So KZAR Funded being Keegan, ZAR being the South African Rand, funded. And basically what that is, it's not necessarily, it has to do with, trading is the main source of that business. But ultimately what I want is for people to understand that there's a community that you can trade with. So I was inspired a lot by 2G's trading, because for me, I see how the guys are on your guys' YouTube. And, you guys provide free content. I mean, you guys don't, charge for the YouTube content. And for me, that was very inspiring. So like for me, I've always wanted to create a platform where people can trade with me live, where they can just understand what's going on. They can also trade with like-minded individuals. But there was a very fine line between, starting that and not starting that, because I didn't understand, if I was at the right point in my life. But for me now personally, looking back on it, it was just all a fear aspect for me. And right now, in this point in my life, I decided, you know what, let me go for it. I have the understanding and I have the knowledge to go about this. And that's where I currently am right now. So KZAR Funded is my business handle that I've come up with. And that's currently where I'm headed. And, I have always said, put God first, put God at the center of your business. And I believe that it will flourish, because not only am I putting God first, but I'm also making sure that I do things the right way. So I've had people in the past, especially mentors in the past, bring me to a point of, expectation, and then suck me dry because they didn't, they knew what they were doing. And, especially with the guys that you guys have been exposing, I mean, it's fantastic to see like things are actually falling into place in terms of having people like exposed, because, that like a lot of the guys, I know personally, and I've seen happen with my, to me personally. So that's kind of where I'm headed. I want to create a platform to have people join me, so that we can just have a good experience all together, and an honest experience as well.
Yeah, I think so. Again, going back to, I think now we getting to that point, obviously you transitioning from content creator to trader, like you say, you're going to be bringing out that your own brand in trading now. Again, knowing recently, it's this year, you have now partnered with your first broker, you did all these things at the start of this year. How is that, has that been different for you? Again, now let's say from a content creation to a trader, like we always talk about collaborating and working with brands. Again, I'm not sure the whole situation is with you and Legacy, if you're part of that or work with the guys, but like this whole collaboration and partnering with companies where now it's brokers, do you think it's different, or it's same thing, just different industry?
Definitely. For me, it was a whole different ballgame in my eyes. So for instance, I'm not part of Legacy anymore. I was, I respect the guys for giving me a shot, but it just wasn't for me. I always, especially my dad always told me, look, there's something bigger for you. There's not just, being a part of a business. There's something bigger for you. You have your own brand already, expand on it. So for me, working with traders in a nutshell, kind of, it's different to the whole comedy scene. So for example, Cape Town is the main hub of content. So I would go to Cape Town, for example, and like collaborate with fitness and comedy influencers. And, you know, it's a whole different scene. You're known for a whole different variety of different, like of comedy and gym. And, you know, it's that scene is completely different. So now when I'm collaborating with traders, it's almost as if the whole content scene has now changed. Like my whole network has changed, which is, for me, it's been a big shift. But it's also, I mean, it's fantastic to see the difference. And I'm kind of combining the two. But then again, it is quite tricky to combine the two because they're completely different entities.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm right now.
Your coming back to it, your dad, I believe, was with Algo FM for many years.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, so your dad, Salman Willis, for a lot of the local guys, you would have heard. I think it was the morning show. Was it the afternoon?
My dad was involved in so he was in the morning show, I remember, and I mean, he'd get up at the most early time. I don't even remember. It's back in the day. I think I was in grade. I surely was like in primary school. But I do remember he used to get up early for certain shifts. But he would kind of be placed in the morning, and he kind of be placed in the evening, the graveyard shift, and then he'd be in the afternoon. So kind of like all around. But
was that ever a thing that you looked at and said, "Flip, I want to do radio, or I want to do media, or something"? Specifically, like seeing your dad do it, and he'd then be like, "Dad, I actually want to try and get into that." Or do you think it's still something that might potentially come later on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I didn't actually want to get into radio. I saw that my dad was in radio, and for me, it was quite entertaining. I mean, for me to see your dad, speaking to a whole bunch of people, basically on a live stream, on radio, it's literally it's almost such a confidence boost as a son to watch that. So for me, what I wanted to gain from that, and what I basically saw, is my confidence would skyrocket, because I thought, I mean, if my dad can speak so smoothly on air, surely I can do the same thing, but with my face on camera. So it wasn't necessarily a case of like I wanted to be a radio star, but I always wanted to be, I would say, without being too conceited, I've always wanted to be in the spotlight. But I never wanted to basically be on radio. In such. But I mean, I've always looked up to my dad, and like I've always been like admiring what he does. But that's kind of where I wanted to go.
I was going to actually say now. Yeah. So do you think obviously that contributes to your, if you want to say, outgoing personality, your confidence, things like that? Because I mean, for again, guys that don't know, and obviously aren't here in office, your sister is here with us, and both of you guys are content creators.
Yeah.
And you guys are outgoing, and again, it leads to that whole thing of, funny enough, this week I actually saw this beautiful quote that says, "The guy that wants to lead the orchestra needs to be prepared to turn his back on the crowd."
Love it.
And you've got to step away and do things differently. And I think, do you think obviously, again, your dad, being the person he was, had that impact and making you be okay to step out and do things differently?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look, my dad came from, basically nothing in a sense. I mean, he lived in a small little area in Cape Town by the name of Steenberg. I wouldn't say, they didn't grow up with much. And for him to come out of that and to kind of, be as confident as he was, especially on radio, it's for me, it's very, very inspiring to see. So I thought, I mean, since I've now, not come out of it's such a, underprivileged area, I'm fortunate enough to say that, I've grown up, in a middle class home. It's been fantastic. I mean, the Lord has blessed me like tenfold. But I mean, to see him come from that and to kind of like, branch off in his confidence, for me, that was like, as a son, to see that it's insane. So definitely, I mean, for me, that's been the most inspiring thing for me. Yeah.
Just going back to your faith, and you said previously, like putting God first in everything. Was there ever a time, or even still now, because I'm going to tell you about a story, and I think you will know about us as well. Was there ever a time where you're going into a financial market, and even in churches, when you start talking money, people are like, ooh, things are now going to that uncomfortable area. But now, as soon as you start putting like that thing of like God first, and now it's also like you're in the financial industry, how do you think you're going to manage that? Because that was always our concern. It's like, you don't want to, it's not like you want to shy away from your faith.
Yeah.
But there also needs to come a point where you almost isolated to say that, listen, this is still business. This is still my faith. But there's also room where you can say, listen, my business is nothing without my faith. And the way that I run my business is based on my faith and my values that I've got through that. So do you think that's something that you also thinking about, listen, I need to almost really adapt as to how I put that to the front and really think about it more deeply than just throwing it maybe out there, especially now when we're in this industry that we're in?
Yes. Very interesting question. I mean, for me, I personally, I believe, putting God first obviously is the most important. That's something I was thinking about too, because, especially with KZR Funded that I'm creating at the moment, my brand, it's like, you don't want to bombard anyone. It's like, if you want people to come to Christ, it's, for me, I believe that, bombarding them with, scripture and bombarding them with what they don't know it's a bit daunting for them. And for me, I don't want anyone to feel like, when they're in my, my community, that this is it's going to be a Christian thing, and they want to it's going to be like a Bible bashing event,
trading cult group.
Trading cult group, exactly. For me, it's not even just my brand, just in general. When people come up to me and speak to me about the Lord, I mean, that's what I want. I want my lifestyle, and I want the way that I live for people, especially within the business that I created. I want people to see, especially in KZR Funded, that when people come to me and they come to the business itself, that it's a God-centered community. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'll speak about God and I'll speak about, the Bible and everything within the community. But if people understand that, wow, Keegan's a Christian, I want to find out more about it because I see the way he's living. That's enough for me to say, I believe that at least one or two people will come to me and say, listen, we see that you're a Christian. Like, can we talk about it? And for me, it's going back to my whole content thing. That's basically the way I did things, especially in the comedy side of things. I'd post about the Lord. I believe, posting about the Lord it's probably the best thing, because what happens is you branch out to a bigger audience. And I've had people from all over the country, especially, over the past 3 years. I've had people come to me and say, listen, I saw your video, it really sparked something in me. I've been, for example, I've been an atheist for so long, but I saw the way you're living and I saw the way you do things. If that's the way your God does things, then I want to know more. So tying it back into my business side of things, it's very difficult to combine God with business. I have thought a lot about that. For me, even having it in the slogan, God first, it can kind of shake people, because you've always been told in life, like, don't put God and business in the same bracket. But for me, that's something that I'll have to pray about, because I don't necessarily have all of those answers, but I know, if I pray about it and if I ask God for guidance, there'll be some sort of direction for me. But as I said, there'll have to be a fine line between keeping them both tied in together.
So for me, I don't know if you've seen Andy Steele Smith. So Andy Steele Smith, friend, good. We became good friends. The gang pastor, the Australian dude that's in the gang areas. And I actually asked him to come down for a podcast at that stage, and his schedule was just a little bit tight. Yeah. But we continually chatted, and I had him on the podcast. And the one day I still told him, and I said, we were talking about the faith. He's obviously not an ordained pastor, but people call him a pastor, so you can say he's an evangelist. And I said, Andy, for me, I would like to express my faith, but I also don't want to create a stigma, because a lot of people use their faith to try and get business and say, oh, but I'm also a Christian, like you can trust me, this and that. And they almost use that to lure people in. It's like, oh, that guy always posts Bible verses. Like, I'm going to support Keegan because he always has like a nice little verse. And again, my experience, the guys that jump the highest and they sit right in front, those guys you don't trust. It's the quiet people at the back that you can trust. But anyways, that's my experience. But nonetheless, we spoke about that, and Andy said, Chris, you don't have to be shy about your faith. It's not like you trying to use your faith to persuade people to do business with you, but you can be unashamed about your faith, because then you start building on, like, we are doing business this way because these are the values within my faith. And those values transcend through your life, through your business. So he's the one. And then from that stage, I think it was last year or earlier. Yeah, from last year. And then I also took that leap and I thought, flip, now I'm going to offend people because we've got Muslim people, we've got maybe atheists, people of different faith. And I said, guys, I respect all of you, but for me and for Keegs, this is our faith. If you don't mind, we're going to pray before every stream.
Yeah.
We're going to lay the table, we're going to pray, and not to offend anybody. And slowly but surely, and like you said as well, a lot of people have come back to say, listen, those prayers in the morning, the prayers in the afternoon really hit them, because some people are going through stuff, and it's not just like trading. We always think like making money, that's the toughest part, but there's like psychological, spiritual, a lot of stuff that people go through. So for me personally, I would say you don't have to be unashamed to post your faith. I think anyone that does it with a sinister idea behind it, because I think these people know exactly what they do. But if it's a pure heart, and people can see truth and purity in it. So I do believe that, don't be ashamed to put it out there. But what I want to come back to, and we're going to just veer a little bit, we'll come back to the trading on the faith thing, is that in recent years, I think we've all seen this commercialization of especially the Christian faith, where everything has become like the show, and it's smoke machines, and it almost feels like we're drifting away from the core values of what the faith is. And now we're getting to this case where it's all about entertainment. It's like, how do we entertain people on a Sunday? Because people don't really come for the word. People come for the 8 steps to how can I grow my business, or 8 steps to be the best person you can be. And all of that is in the Bible. Like that's going to be the fruit of following what's there. But we're now at the stage, and I want to get your thought, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, because a lot of people don't talk about it. And a lot of people want to say, oh, but don't touch the anointed of God, this and that. And I'm like, there's right and there's wrong. And we have to go back to what the word says. It's very basic. So if something's not according to that, like, what are we doing? So just want to talk a little bit about, let's call it the commercialization of the church.
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, going back on what you guys do in the mornings. I've seen the prayers in the morning. It's literally, it's imperative that takes place, because I'll tell you why. It's because there's so many people on the live stream, I know it, that are going through so much. And whether or not, it's a prayer, for whichever faith, there's still a prayer being done, and these guys are feeling it. And thankfully, it's a prayer done with the living God, the living God, of my faith. And for me, I mean, going back on that, I love to see that. So well done to you guys for actually doing that in the mornings. It's a big step. I understand that. And for me, like, I always respected it, and I'm glad that you guys haven't stopped that. So that's amazing. But going back to the commercialization, man, I've seen things that are just when it comes to especially concerts, sold out concerts of these huge artists that are Christian artists. Now, this is something I spoke to my grandmother about. Like, it's very interesting to see these artists grow, and I have nothing against what they do, because they have the name of Jesus within their songs, and the thing is, the songs are very awesome to listen to, and they make you feel the Holy Spirit in a certain way that you never thought. However, it's just a bit frightening to see the growth of the actual commercialization of Christian faith. Not only the concerts, but the churches as well, the mega churches. It's quite scary, and I never want to talk down upon any church or like any community, faith-based community, but it is a bit worrying to see this, because the core reason for going to church is to find that relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. But it's just, sometimes it's just it feels like there's just a lot of extras within that come along with it. It's like almost you must
building projects,
building projects,
like
just
money,
exactly,
and we have to do this,
like materialistic growth. That's what I'm basically trying to say. And there's nothing wrong with growing it. It's just that it becomes like, as long as it doesn't get to that point where it becomes the main focus. That's why it's always been tough for me to find a church that I really believe like I want to stay at, because and not the churches in PE. I haven't had anything wrong with the churches in PE, but I mean, I've been to the States and I've seen the churches in the States. Those churches are massive. They're massive. And like the thing about those churches is they preach the word of God. Fantastic. To be honest, that is what I take away from what they say. But it's just, the additives. It's like, okay, we're building on this, guys, and we kind of we need more money to do this. I just struggle to. For me as a Christian, I ask the Lord for discernment, right? But it's sometimes it's very daunting to see this happen. But then again, I could be completely wrong, and they could be just generally just wanting to grow the church, and then but at the same time, I'd rather just leave that in the Lord's hands, because I don't have any opinion, any say in it necessarily. But in my case, what I've witnessed a lot of artists, especially in the community, in the commercialization of the church, specifically grow at a rapid pace. And a couple of bands that I'm sure I can mention some of the bands, or I wouldn't mention them, but I've seen a couple of the bands grow at a rapid pace. It's a little bit worrying, but as long as the Lord gives us the discernment to understand.
For me, what's worrying is, and I also had the same thought, and I'm like, am I wrong for it? And I'm not saying that anything is Christian needs to be small and humble and can't grow, because everything God touches grows. Like he spoke and he created the world, and it's still ever expanding. But my question is, why do we want the church to look like the world? That is my thing. Like when the Bible explicitly says you are not from this world and you shouldn't be in this world, but now we are trying to make everything look like this, like it needs to look like the world. And it's this case of, if it doesn't look like that, how are we going to attract these people? So now we need to, even the artists, now they're dressing like somebody, and it's like you wouldn't even know, is this, and I'm not saying if you're Christian now you can't have style and whatever, but I mean, like, why do you want to almost be like, there's no discernment or there's no differentiation between, let's say, a secular band and the Christian band, and it's like they look the same, they speak the same. It's just every now and again maybe Jesus is dropped in a song, but for the most part it's like, dude, you're just targeting an audience of Christians instead of somebody else that's just listening to a certain genre of music. So
scary, man. It is scary. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, the other day I watched a TikTok saying, guys, we've now opened this Christian club. It's like, wow.
Christian club? No,
Christian club. For real? We're going to praise the name of Jesus in the club. I said,
we anoint the drinks.
Yeah, literally anoint the drinks. I said, and they're like, alcohol-free drinks and all that. I'm like, okay, the idea is there, right? We understand the idea is there. There's no shooting down the idea, but as you mentioned, why do we want to look like the world?
No,
it's like, and I've seen this multiple times already, especially on TikTok, being advertised. I'm just like, just join a cell group, or go to church in general. I mean, it's just it's worrying, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it's something I think about now and then, but it's never crossed my mind too much. But it's something when I think about it, I think deep and hard about it. So it's good to talk about it on an actual podcast. It's nice.
Then bring it back to the trading. I think we'll bring it back, and we haven't actually touched on it. So you've been trading since
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Where did your trading start? In what? Wow. We've had so many guests on, but where did your journey start?
It's crazy. So I got introduced to trading from a good friend of mine from school. I know Keegan also knows him, Ridwan Woodley. Very nice guy. I have the utmost respect for him, just because of the fact that he took the time to help me out, and that's kind of where I want to go in life as well, helping people out. But so basically, what happened was I saw these charts on his story and everything. I was like, no ways. Like there must be some sort of scam to this. I mean, he's not making 1,000 rand in one go. There's no way this is actually happening. So I thought, no, scrap that. I'm not going to even bother. Fast forward a couple of weeks later. This is, by the way, like, this was like lockdown period. Like, we were still wearing masks and things were a little bit like shaky. So that was in 2020. 2021 came around, by the way. I still saw him posting. I saw a lot of other guys posting as well. I thought, no ways. Like, if they're posting about this, there's surely some sort of catch. So I set up a meeting. I said, look, bro, can you meet me at Hello to Me? We met at Hello to Me in Warmer. And I said to him, like, you know, what is this about? He told me, bring your laptop with. I said, fine. So funny enough, I just opened the chart and he just showed me this like random MT5 platform. I was like, dude, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So I got introduced to candlesticks. First of all, like, the only candles I've ever seen is from load shedding, bro. Like, I've never never seen a candle. I've never seen a candle on a chart. Right? So I thought to myself, like, damn, this is interesting, right? A couple of weeks went by. I did some homework, understood a bit. Thankfully, you know, I have that mentality of don't give up if you really want to achieve something. So I thought to myself, no, man, there must be a certain way that these oaks are making money. So I tried my best to do as much research as I could. Now, keep in mind, I was a go-getter back then as well, but not to the point of like, okay, I'm going to have sleepless nights on this. So I gave up a bit because I found out about market structure a little bit. I found out about how this works. It didn't really hit as much as I thought it would. So I tried my best to kind of slowly detach myself from it.
All these isolated ideas, but
yeah,
you can't.
It's difficult. It was difficult to understand. I mean, no one really could explain this properly. I went to YouTube. YouTube also didn't really give me too much on, like, you know, from a beginner's perspective. I then decided, you know, like, let me give this a break, because I was studying psychology at the time. I was like, nah, let me give this a break. Surely it's not gonna benefit me in any way. Fast forward, start of 2022. I thought to myself, you know what? Let me give this one more shot. Gave up again. So this is the second time giving up. Said fine. 2022 came up. The end of 22 came around. I decided, okay, this is the time to go to the States. So I was still busy with content. I was still busy with a little bit of trading, trying to figure it out, but not really. Drop shipping, email marketing, you know, like literally the 9 yards to try and make money online. I thought to myself, okay, now that I'm in the States, I should be making a lot of money, right? But being in the States meant that I have had to work my ass off every single day just for, it was a good amount of money, don't get me wrong, but it didn't make sense to work so much for such an amount. Thought to myself, okay, let me give trading one more shot. So I was in the States this time. I said, let me give trading one more shot. Eventually, you know, my mindset shifted. I thought to myself, okay, I understand the basics of what's happening. Let me dive further into it. All right, 2022 went by. I actually put my all into it I actually have a video of me saying, oh, guys, I want to break out the matrix. I kind of want to leave this 9 to 5. You know, that like before and after video that I wanted to make. So I have that video in the archive. So I'm going to wait to use that. And then, we will see when that video gets made. But for now, like at that point, I decided, you know what? This is not for me. I don't like to work so much for the amount that I'm getting. And I thought to myself, if I can make that same amount in a span of, you know, 15 to 30 minutes, just by analyzing a chart, there must be a way for me to do it full time. So to end off basically where this headed is that was basically the start of my journey of saying, okay, I'm going full in. So there goes basically the part of me staying up late. Like literally, I think you guys understand that I was on your streams at, as I said, at ungodly hours of the morning. So this was at like 3 o'clock in the morning. London session starts in the States. 9 o'clock in the morning is the US session. So for me, I had to make a decision. I said to myself, okay, so this is now in Florida. This is my last season of being in the States. I said to myself, okay, this is the time where you need to focus, because in New York, I struggled so hard. Times were extremely tough in terms of work hours. And, you know, being on the 2Gs podcast, I mean, I could only be on so late in the like early hours of the morning to watch that. And I would watch a couple of my other mates, you know, go live. But at the same time, it was like, dude, I literally can't. Like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just, it's unreal how heavy my eyes are getting. So I think when I got to Florida, now fast forward, I'm fast forwarding from that time to Florida. Florida is when I decided, you know what, like, is sleep really that necessary? Which it is. I'm telling you guys now on camera, sleep is very necessary. Don't make the same mistake I made. I ran around with raccoon eyes for the past, like, probably that season. But I woke up one morning and I was like, dude, there's like the Florida season I just started in the States, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'm giving up on this. I had spent every morning that I had off, I would make sure to stay up until at least 5 o'clock in the morning, get a little bit of sleep, and then still go to work maybe that afternoon if I had, an evening shift or whatever. But that was kind of my routine. It was stay up as late as I possibly can, try my best to kind of gain as much knowledge while also trying to, milk the markets. Keep in mind, I was failing 24/7. Like I wasn't getting anywhere. No strategy in place. I tried my best to have a strategy, but for me, nothing clicked because I didn't have time to do the research for it. So that is where I decided, that is literally where I was a couple of months ago. Now from, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, April was where I found my strategy that I wanted to use. And a good friend of mine showed me the strat, and I thought to myself, okay, let me try this out. I used that. I got my first payout from a funded company. That was kind of, for me, a very surreal moment because I had just now milked $300 from a company out of the sky. Like for me, my parents didn't understand that. Like, how can you just make money by, withdrawing it from a company that doesn't exist? Like, where's the company itself? Where's it based? So for me, that first payout really said to myself, I said to myself, look, this is what I'm going to do. A lot of guys call me crazy there, especially at work. They were like, oh no, you have to work hard. This is like hard work, hard grind, which is fine. It's fair enough. Like I have no disrespect for the 9-to-5 graft. However, it was just, for me, it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I came back to South Africa. Now this is where the story ends. I came back to South Africa and I decided, I'm going to put my all into trading. My parents said to me, look, take 6 months. It's the 3rd month now. Take 6 months and try your best to, just get this going. Like we believe in you. So for me, that was fantastic to hear. I mean, especially when your family backs you, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it was always difficult to prove to them like this is going to work. But when they finally said to me, like, listen, they've always backed me. But when they finally said to me, look, take 6 months to work on yourself and work on this, I thought to myself, okay, well, if I have their backing, I mean, I can do this. So fast forward to now, I've had 2 payouts. I can say confidently I've had 2 payouts. And it's been 3 months. So, I mean, for me, the progress it's insane. And I mean, it may be a bit daunting for me to start my own business and to start this whole thing. But for me, the most important aspect is psychology, because I know the stress I went through. I know how big of an impact the psychological aspect had on me back in the States. I know how big it was on me, especially even here, being at home. It's literally, you come back with like some sort of almost like a trust fund in a sense, like a small bag of income, of capital that you can use. And that's kind of your safety net. So without that safety net, you kind of screwed. So I had to make this work or else it just wasn't going to work for me. And I'm proud to say now that I have made it work, and it's been great. So this is where I'm currently now. I just got funded about 2-3 weeks ago, and it's crazy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was funded, a while back. Like I'm extremely transparent. I was funded a few weeks ago for the first time properly by a company, and payouts are thankfully happening on a regular, which is very inspiring, and I give all glory to God for that. But that is my journey from start all the way literally to the finish, and this is currently where I am now. And I couldn't be happier. It's like my dream.
So I must just say that, because obviously you're talking about when you were starting. So when you were doing your journey, and you were saying like you were losing 24/7, and like we were all were there. Obviously I want to get into that. The first question was that at that time, were you doing prop challenges, or were you actually trading personal funds at that time? And then going into the next thing, now that, like you say, you are funded now, you did these things, is that like your game plan to strictly be a funded trader, or later on make the shift back to personal? Are you doing both? And do you think there was a bit of a difference in, like, let's say, success you saw from going to funded, or the shift from one to the other?
It's crazy. So I was actually trading funded accounts. So I would basically save up money from my job. So funded accounts, I would buy, the relatively expensive ones. I buy like the $50,000 funded accounts, which was in my, in all, it was not a good decision, because a $50,000 account is what, like $300.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, why am I spending so much money on a funded account if I don't have a system in place? So I was losing money in terms of spending that on funded accounts. I never had any personal capital that I put into an account, besides the personal capital that I put in at the very start, which my mom gave me. She gave me I think it was 1,500 Rand, and I blew that literally the next day. So, but besides that, I've never had a personal account. So this was my first time using the money that I've made in my job to basically fund my trading. And confidently, I can say, I'm not even ashamed. I've probably blew at least 15 accounts in the States. And it's a lot of money. I mean, especially on $25,000 accounts, $50,000 accounts, a lot of money. And it's funny because I look back at it and I laugh, man. I'm like I really shouldn't have spent so much money on the funded accounts. Like I didn't have to. I could have just spent that time just learning the skill instead. And that's what I want to tell the guys in my membership as well. I want to be like, listen, guys, don't worry about the end result. Just focus on the journey at the moment. That's I would have liked to know that back then. But yeah, I mean, in terms of trading what I'm trading now, I'm trading funded accounts. Obviously, at the moment, I'm funded. I'd like to get to a point where I'm able to say, look, I can now save up for a real account and actually invest in some sort of a broker that I can trust and have a personal account. I mean, me and Keegs were speaking about it the other day at the gym. I mean, a personal account is so much more reliable. I mean, even when you're trading your personal funds, for a fact you got control over those personal funds. With a funded account, I mean, you lose it. Like, there's obviously parameters within the funded account. It's almost like it's kind of daunting. It's like if you lose a certain percentage, the account leaves. With a personal account, it's very nice. I mean, you can pretty much do your own thing. So that's for me. The goal is to have enough capital to basically invest in a to basically invest in a private account. And for now, I mean, I'm in the starting stages of obviously building that up. And that's currently where I'm right now. But for me, for right now, the funded route is currently where I'm at and where I'm headed for a while. So
no, it's awesome.
Sorry, man. And what sessions do you mostly trade? Sorry, Keys, I don't know is it still on trading?
Yeah, it's still on trading.
Okay. What session is your favorite, London or NYC?
Fair. So for me, I trade London. So I've always wanted to create a lifestyle for myself. So for me, I trade London. I trade supply and demand on the lower time frames. And for me, it's been insane. The data collecting for me it's been crazy, and that's why I'm so confident to let people know that this is the way I do it. And for me, the London session gives me such good opportunities. I mean, New York does too, but I've currently, for me, the mindset was finish up the trading in the morning and then have the rest of the day to do what you want, because I've had a lot of things that I've had to do in the day that I can't get done because I've got two sessions to trade. With that being said, that's not the only reason. So for me, I've also had times, especially when I first got back to SA, where I've traded the London session. I forked out 3% in London session. I thought to myself, fantastic, that's amazing. Then I get to US session, I lose that 3% because of silly mistakes and poor risk management. And obviously this is when I first got back. But that kind of instilled in me, listen, like I can just trade one session and get it over and done with. If it's a loss, it's a loss, a certain percentage throughout the day. For example, I lose 1% of the day. That's fine for me. I can just go on with my day, come back tomorrow. And I've seen the most success with that. I would love to give US session a go. But for me right now, one session is okay because it works for me, time-wise. So that's currently where I'm at with the sessions, yeah.
Yeah. What pairs do you mostly trade?
So for me, I trade 3. I trade GU, so GBP USD. I trade gold, and I trade NASDAQ.
Okay, all right.
So NAS for me works in the morning. A lot of guys are like, oh, why do you trade NASDAQ in the morning? So I thought I'd just get it out there. NASDAQ moves brilliantly in the morning, especially for supply and demand. It works fantastically in my strat.
Awesome. Yeah, so the previous question I was going to ask was, obviously in South Africa, there's a stigma the minute you mention you're a trader. There's this toxic look and idea of traders in South Africa. And obviously that's the difference we're going to change. But I want to go back to now when you were in America. Is there still a stigma to if you tell people, for example, like you say, when you're working there, other guys say, no, it's that hard work, you got to grind in this for traders? And is that stigma similar to what we have in SA, obviously, for what we...
Like scam vibe.
Because the thing is, there is scammers. I mean, we've been exposing them in America, but there's definitely less than what there is in South Africa.
Bro, I can tell you one thing. In the US, trading is more... I think in my opinion, trading is just a lot more safe in their eyes because a lot of the guys don't trade Forex. Surprisingly enough, they've all contributed to futures and stocks. And, they've currently given Forex, the stamp of disapproval in my like that's what I've seen. I speak to most of the guys in the States, and not a lot of them speak to me about forex. Like everyone's like, how are you doing in trading? Like I also trade futures. I'm like I don't trade futures. I trade forex. So it's like the whole system of trading. It's still I mentioned to them. I mentioned to the couple of guys like, I trade, and it's like, can you like? I also want to know about investing, and I'm like, okay, but I don't know about investing. I trade. So especially when I talk to the guys in the States, it's always the case of they don't really understand what I'm talking about. But in South Africa, it's pretty much I would say similar in a sense. But in both spheres of things, when you speak to traders and you speak to people in the States, they generally have an understanding of what you're talking about. But in South Africa, it's I think it's still not right now. It's getting better, but it's becoming more of a reality that trading is something that you can do full time, or that's something that works. And I think it has a lot to do with marketing as well. Because I mean, especially with you guys, what you guys are doing now with 2G trading, a lot of guys are seeing that it's actually possible to do it. So I think back in like maybe 3 years ago, this was seen as kind of like a scam in a sense. I mean, if I say the word, I tell my family this all the time. I never tell people that I'm a forex trader. I don't think I've ever said to anyone, listen, I'm a forex trader. If I say I'm a forex trader, I see their mind immediately switch off. It's like, oh, okay, I disrespect you now. I don't respect you in any sense, because you've now told me that you're a forex trader. And I feel like the reason why that's the case is because Instagram and Instagram has had such a reputation.
Lifestyle selling.
And exactly. And I mean, you can see that there's something about these guys that doesn't make sense. And as again,
everyone asking what is forex trading?
Forex trading, yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, and you always get these forex scams and like people, and I don't know.
No, but have you seen how many guys fumbled the ball? All the mentors, all these mentors, these gurus, and the guys are like, what is forex trading? So now you ask me, it's like, I know what it is, but I'm going to ask Keegan. and then Keegan gets mauled, and then you go again. And it's like, oh, but I thought the other guy in your previous podcast, and the guy's like, no, but you tell me what it is. And it's like, I don't know. I don't trade forex.
I literally saw the podcast the other day with Ed, and I thought to myself, I think it was with Miles and Ed.
Yeah,
I thought to myself, like, you guys are so right. Like, why not, if you're gonna scam people, why not understand what forex is first?
Yeah,
at least get a bit of education.
At least understand what it's about. Well, at least get the definition written down, so you can at least explain the definition, then walk away.
But it's the funniest thing, because I always tell people this story, and again, I'll never say it to people. If you don't know me, when it's clear, then if you ask me what do I do, because again, at the time, my mates, we go out for a birthday, and again, guys, not a place of choice. But we go out to Pool City.
Oh, yeah.
And we walk in there, and all these people start chanting, oh, what do you do? And apparently, once I mentioned you're a trader, half of the place is apparently traders.
Yeah.
And I'm just okay. So now it's just like,
Bitcoin.
guys, I'm in finance.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
So just leave it there.
I was Bitcoin doing today.
A little bit in Bitcoin.
I don't care what Bitcoin. It's like, what? No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Coming back to the industry, and obviously you still, and I say still relatively new in the space, is what do you gauge the temperature at with everything that's happened in let's call it the last year or so? Like, a lot of guys have been exposed. A lot of guys' brand has fallen apart, doing like dubious things. Where do you see the influencer, and let me call it rather the trading influencer space going? I want to get your thoughts on where do you see it going. Are we still going to see the lifestyle selling and the cars and that, or where do we see it advancing to?
Man, that's crazy, because at the moment, I mean, the influencer vibe in trading, especially on social media, is just it's overflowing, bro. Like, there's just so many people now that are on social media saying that they're traders. It's becoming like a little bit oversaturated in a sense. But that's also it's kind of disappointing, because I mean, the guys that are oversaturating it are like 99%, like I'll say 90% of the time, they're not doing it for the right reasons. So they're oversaturating a market just for their own personal gain, which is, in my eyes, I mean, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if that was me. So I don't see their lifespans living long in terms of the trading world. But yeah, I mean, influencer, it's so hard to say because there's just so much, false information out there. And I mean, people just are starting to believe anything and everything. Like, it's just, you can literally start a trading account, and be, popular within in a couple of months just by talking a whole bunch of bullshit, just by saying to people like, listen, like, I trade, this is the profits I make, look at my account, it's a demo account, but look at my account, and look at my withdrawals. There again, it's a demo withdrawal, because it is doable. I mean, I've definitely seen demo accounts with withdrawals on them, and like the guy on the on the other end of the phone or the other end of the laptop is thinking, you're like, wow, like, I've seen the withdrawals, surely he must be legit. So the influencer industry, it's in my opinion, it's under attack, man. Like, with the whole Forex industry, in my opinion.
And also, if you think about it, and one of the big names that fell now recently is Alex G, where it came out, and here's the thing, a lot of people don't realize, but I think there was a video done, was that he did a course, like marketing for a course, and it was like
a boot camp.
Yeah, a boot camp. And there was only supposedly 100 spots available. But this man went, he bought some marketing space in Times Square, and I think you would know what it cost to put a billboard up there. And he did all of these marketing stuff. And I sat down the one day with Keegs, and I said, Keegs, something's not right here. And I said, how do you spend all of this money? Your course is going to be, let's say, $3,000. There's only 100 people that's going to join. That's only $300,000. Like, I'm even thinking just that billboard in Times Square is going to be maybe like 4 or 5, because the amount of impressions you get is I'm like, either something's not adding up. Then it came out that man had 3,100 groups. So there's 100 people in 3,000 groups.
I don't.
And I'm like, okay, I understand the entire thing about you creating this marketing stigma with the exclusivity. It's only for 100 and there's a time frame. But come on, man. Now saying that it's only 100, and then all of the other people found out that there were like, I think it was 2,000 groups, and it's just 100 piled into each. So
if you look in your group, there's only 100.
That is crazy. I didn't do a lot of research on Alex G.
And then also what he did is also very clever, is something similar to what Raja did. Is, so let's say, for instance, me and Keegan in the morning, we didn't trade live. We share, you basically share the buy scenario and the sell scenario. So when either happens, you take the opposite end, and it's done on different accounts. So now what you do is you pre-hand it, like you said, like it could do this, it could do that. And now after the fact, it's like, but I told you it could do the sell. Yeah, I took it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Maybe the guy knows what he's doing. Then it's again like you put out 5 potential trades, and now you're looking one direction. I'm like looking for the buy. You have one direction on all 5. Then all of a sudden, later the afternoon, it's like, okay, out of those 5, the one that played out, I took that one. It's like, here it is. And then it came out that Alex G had all these different accounts that he was doing this 100 to 1 million challenge on, that he was always like conniving with different accounts. And then how he got caught, he got lazy, was that he showed a withdrawal. And he went onto the monthly time frame. And you will know on your MT5, if you go on the monthly time frame, it will show all of your trades for that month, and it will show the withdrawal, whatever you at the bottom.
Correct.
And there was nothing. And then the guys were like, you didn't think about that. And that's where they caught him trading multiple accounts, showing you the stuff, not actually having trade. And now again, it's that case of, we've got some local guys doing it. And I went to go and comment, and I said, like, guys, you need to think about this. You need to be very transparent, because now everyone is going to ask.
Yes.
What can we believe? What is true? What is not true? Because you will know as well that if you work closely with the broker, and I'm not talking against any broker, brokers sometimes also do weird shit. for affiliates, for IBs, for you to market and test accounts and all of this weird stuff, just to get people sucked in. And that's what I'm saying to some of the other trading influencers. Like, don't get offended if people are going to say, dude, we don't believe it. Show us the real thing. We did it with Joash as well. It came out. It was a fake account. It wasn't a real. But all I'm saying is that makes it sours almost the mood for everyone else. Because now a new consumer or somebody that's already a consumer, it's like, now somebody else is doing maybe something legit, but now it's like, oh, but I can't believe Keegan or Chris or whoever because this guy did it. So it's tarnishing the entire industry in that sense. So
like just because even like with you and we starting off now, and it's almost like if we can give you that little bit of insight.
Go for it.
I think it's the sense of, even for us today, I think being transparent, trading live, do everything live with the guys, and you'll still get questioned, you're a scammer. And I think it's that whole thing, as Chris was saying there. I think even for you now moving forward with your brand and your company, it's also, you're going to get questioned. You're going to get questioned. You're going to do all this purely because of what the others before us have done in the community.
100%.
So guys are going to give that sour aspect. But I mean, even just quickly going back to something there, because I still remember when we started, there was a time when we started, we were both in a trading group, a PE trading group.
WhatsApp group,
Hey,
and
what's happening? What's that?
we were all learning.
The boys going in here. I feel like the boys want to go in here.
Some flags.
That's where I lost my 1,500 rand.
I
by the way.
also lost money there, bro, as well.
I lost everything.
We in this group.
Yes.
Just all we were trading was formations. That's all it was.
I remember that. Crazy.
And what do you think, like how we always talk about the pieces of the puzzle get put together when end of last year we exposed that guy as being a scammer now.
Okay. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that when that happened?
Bro, you know what? For me, when I talk about exposing, I mean, you guys are very ballsy with the whole exposing thing. I must be honest, and I commend you guys for that. For me, I always believe what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And if you're doing something wrong and your conscience can get away with it, that it says something to you. It says something about you. And it's always the case of like guilty until proven innocent. But if there's enough innocence to be proven, then surely then there must be an apology of we were wrong. This is how it's this is how it is. We are sorry. But if someone is meant to be exposed, then they're meant to be exposed. If they've come to you and said to you, look, this is how it was, and I did do something wrong, then by all means, I mean, man to man, it's fantastic. It's a great discourse. It's nice to get that the interaction going, because that proves transparency. But in my eyes, I mean, there's just so much. There's just so much to say. There's like this whole trading community is very tightly knit, even back from that WhatsApp group, for example, or back from like some sort of community that we were in. And I really do remember that. I mean, it was a time where that was actually where I lost the money, because I didn't understand anything about leverage. I didn't understand anything about lot sizing. What I did was put in the amount. I think it was sell gold. I mean, I still like who sells gold, bro? So I still sold gold, bro, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna sell gold, no worries. I literally didn't even have enough to sell gold. I think not enough money. Eventually, as 0 commas whatever, and it was crazy. I mean, it all vanished. I was in. I remember I was still in Moffat on Main, bro. I was still doing some shopping there with my mom. And I didn't even want to tell her. I was like, oh, look, your funds are now gone. Like, you remember the funds you gave me yesterday? So when it comes to exposing, I mean, look, it's all about principle. I mean, if they, if the person that, as you guys have said, I've heard you guys say this numerous times. If you guys say that we are going to expose someone, and they come out with a thing of, okay, well, it's not true. Let me prove it to you. If they've proven to you guys that, if they've proven you guys wrong, which I know you guys always say, prove us wrong, then fantastic. I mean, that's great. Yeah. But if they haven't yet, that's where the issue comes in. So, I never want to point fingers at anyone and who's doing what wrong. But I do believe that, if you're a man, it's mostly men in the industry that are teaching. If you're a man about it, you'll confess and you'll show that you have remorse, or you'll have some sort of conscience. So I don't know anything about what happened entirely with that specific event, with that incident, but I do believe that something correct, something right has come out of that situation. Surely, I mean, either he was exposed or he came to you guys and said, "Listen, this is not the case. Here's the proof." So I'm not too sure exactly what happened in that whole thing.
But I think going more to a positive note, especially quickly just after we spoke about that group where we lost money and stuff. And there's always these things like you can remember in trading. I always say to guys, there's specific moments in your trading career you'll always remember that moment.
Yes.
Irrelevant if that was thousands and the next time you're making millions, you'll remember that time of the thousands. For where you are even in your career now, what was one of those moments, that defining moment that you remember and that was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. Like, this is why I want to be in this game.
NFP
This
Friday.
is
NFP Friday.
Was it an NFP Friday? Be honest.
No, look,
whether it was like your biggest win or it was anything, but like
some
that's
news
moments.
events. It has to be some.
Bro, so for me, I don't even trade news events.
Okay.
I look at you guys and I'm like, wow. As soon as I'm able to just say, okay, let me just put like, for instance, like 5-10K in an account or whatever, and just like blow it completely, have that risk involved, then by all means. But for now, I don't trade news. I respect so many people who trade news, bro. Like it's literally crazy for me. But the moment that changed my trading career, bro, I think it was that $300,000. Wow, that $300 payout.
The
first initial payout. Because as I said, I spoke to my parents. I said, I literally withdrew money from the sky. I told them, like, there's no way that this was ever possible back in your day. I mean, you'd have to work 24/7 to be able to afford an amount like this. So for me, that was a big change for me. Because I physically, I got the money in my account. It was an American-based account. So I got it within the next day. And I mean, the broker was he was very fast with it. So it was just insane to see that, you can make so much money just by clicking a few buttons. So for me, that was the most insane part of my trading that kind of just took me off the edge and said, listen, like, this is what I want to do full time. But I almost lost that passion of mine when I lost at 1,500 Rand. And especially back then, I thought to myself, well, if I'm losing so much, surely I'm going to lose everything I own if I do put in, to my trading. So, yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to do a $10,000 Vault Funder giveaway. So Keegan's going to give us his lucky number. So put that in the comment section. We're going to give you guys 2 weeks from posting of this video. Then we will choose our lucky winner. Keegan, what is your lucky number?
The number from 1 to 10?
Any number.
Any number?
Any number. Your lucky number.
I'd say 7.
7. All right, guys, so it's 7. Comment that below. You've got 2 weeks, and then we're going to choose a winner.
Yeah, guys, I think as we start getting close to the wrapping up and everything like that.
I think you have to wrap it up now.
Huh?
No, Mo gave us.
Oh.
But the wrap.
I think for all the young traders, other fellow South African traders, American traders, whoever's watching this, if this was you watching and this was somewhere you looking to be in the future and you were looking for that golden nugget that we always look for as traders,
Sure.
What is the golden nugget you would give them?
The golden nugget. So for me personally, the golden nugget would be, specifically in trading, correct? Trading? The golden nugget would be to risk properly. So for me personally, I didn't understand how to risk, and that set me back tenfold. But I want to say that I want to include risk and I want to include psychology, because without psychology, there's no risk involved, because, I mean, you're not able to understand how to risk because your psychology is off point. So the golden nugget for me is invest in a proper psychological, I would say, not specifically in a psychological course, but learn about psychology as much as you can, especially trading psychology. Because once you can master psychology, once you understand, that you have control over your own mind, you can take those cold showers, for example, you can, control your emotions. That's when trading becomes so much more simple. And that is my golden nugget for anyone who's watching out there. Invest in your psychology, because it will take you much further than you ever thought trading would take you.
No, I love it.
All right, guys, we want to say thank you for joining us here today. We'll have Keegan's socials in the description. Connect with Keegan. Keegan, thanks so much for joining us,
It's been a pleasure,
brother.
man. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Good luck with the rest of your journey. Our office is here, where we are. So We back you, we support you on all of that. Keeks, thank you so much for partnering here with me as well. And Chad, we'll see you guys on the next one. Hit that like button, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace and love, baby.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.